My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Hello and welcome to this. It is the EggChasers Rugby Podcast, the podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. I'm JB, here in the dungeon with the whole trifecta. Tim, how are you?
Very well, JB, very well.
And Phil?
Is that hello or how are you?
How are you? I couldn't say and Phil. Right, that doesn't make sense, does it?
You could say
hello and Phil.
You could say hello, Phil. How are you?
Hello, Tim. How are you? And you, Phil. How are you?
I am here. Hello, and I am doing okay. Thank you very much, JB.
Superb. Oh, a long weekend of rugby. A long weekend of rugby, which I think is going to get mixed reviews.
That's exactly where I wanted to start, so we'll get into that. I'll just remind you that we are the OGs of rugby podcasting.
I don't think that's true. I think that's Jim Hamilton.
No, well,
no.
He says so, but we are the OGs.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard him say, and I'm just, I respect Jim a lot, so I'm going to listen to him. Well, he says he's the OG. 2 years after we started, that's fine. You can live with that. You sleep well, buddy.
And we are here every single Monday morning, and we have been every single Monday morning, 52 weeks of the year, and into our 12th season. So if you appreciate that fact, hit subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Get in touch with us at contacteggchasers@gmail.com with any thoughts that pop into your head at the week or over the weekend while you're watching the rugby. And get more content at patreon.com/eggchasers where you can help keep the lights on.
Oh, tell you what, I've had a miserable weekend of rugby.
Well, I'm glad you actually had some rugby, because I'm assuming with the weather that most non-top couple of levels of rugby has probably been postponed, hasn't it?
Well, yes. Now, first, I'm going to start off with...
Not that much. From what I
really?
I was checking National 1 to look how my beloved Sedgley Park did.
Hey, game of the week in England was that top of the table clash
on Friday night.
On Friday night between Rams and Richmond, and on our mention, because we mentioned it on the podcast, and that directly led. So was
it us that? I mean, I know we mentioned it, but was that actually the reason they showed it?
Richmond, Richmond are under the impression that the only reason it very hastily got put onto a live stream, which is brilliant and good on the guys at Next Gen 15 for doing that, who normally cover schools rugby, cover this. Lads. But I gather it was hastily arranged on that channel after we alerted the world to the fact that a giant National League game was happening, which Richmond won by a single point.
2 points.
2 points, sorry. It was a
classic scoreline.
It was really intense, good to watch. Two good teams.
I also found out about the history of Rams. So they were called something ridiculous.
Reading Gensians. I mentioned this last week.
Reading Gensians.
And apparently Rams is easier to remember for kids. And Chairman has a good point.
Not just kids.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Well, I'll start off with this. A massive shout out to Trafford Metrovics. So very much the junior club in the borough of Sale. Is Sale a borough? Whatever.
Well, the borough of Trafford, I guess.
I guess so.
Which also counts Bowden amongst its.
Yeah. So
and Altrincham Kersal.
Sale FC and Trafford are multiple stone throws away. So if I carried on throwing a stone for about a mile, I would probably get there.
They're both roughly equidistant from my house as well.
Yeah.
I can walk to both in 20,
so
20
Trafford
to
Metrovic don't even think about trying to build a more plush...
No. Phil will
plush ground. Phil will kill that.
They're both a little bit further away than Crossford Bridge, which Sale were eyeing up.
Yeah, so I was looking at the weather on Friday night, I was like, there is no way this is getting played. There's just no way that this is getting played. Also, Trafford's pitches are right by the Mersey, just like
They
ours.
really are.
Yeah, they are.
And
Yeah.
like, I don't know if they're a floodplain, but it's a big, flat, expansive line of land.
There's
right
the
by
Mersey, and then there's a giant like grass bank that they've sort of built years ago,
Flood
and
defence.
the pitches are down about the level of the Mersey, the other side of the grass bank.
About that. So the Mersey is flowing, we should say. And like, right, boys, you play. I was like, there's no way. There is no way. The pitch was superb. Like, it was absolutely brilliant. They've got a great setup there.
They've invested in that pitch.
Yeah, and you can really tell. I mean, the whole club looks absolutely great. And then we went, and it's the first game I personally have lost all season. We got soundly beaten by a very, very good pack. Very good driving ball game from a 5-man lineup, which really irritated me. Strong scrum, pick and go game, and they just played the conditions. They came back from, I think, 14 point deficit too.
Did you have the wind in the first half and they had it in the second?
No one had the wind because it was
going
straight across the field.
Okay.
So every time you booted the ball, it went miles, but somehow in both directions. Like, it made no sense whatsoever.
Well, then, I was looking at National League One. There was only one postponed game, so fair play. But every single, other than the Friday night game, every single game on the Saturday was won by the home team. And there were some really long journeys in this. So, like, Blackheath travelled up to Rotherham. Darlington Moden Park travelled down to Plymouth. Roslin travelled up to Sedgley. Sale travelled down to Bishop Stortford.
Yeah.
So there's some. You can see that there's been like 4, 5, 6 hour bus journeys. The boys don't want to get off the bus. They wish they'd never
don't.
got off the bus.
I was substituted at half time, right? And now I warm up in a vest every single week. It does not matter. I have warmed up in the. I was so cold. I will, and I don't get cold. I was so cold, and they substituted me and said, "Just give us 10 minutes and come back on." I was shivering so hard, I spasmed my back. I simultaneously got cold and injured in the same game. Nothing to do with rugby. I couldn't walk this morning.
You've not got the same insulation that you used to have.
It is
genuinely
horrific.
like lower body fat means you get cold.
Yeah, you need to be fat to play a game.
Jesse Creel.
Jesse Creel will die on that field.
No wonder he's gone to Japan to play rugby. He's looking at the Champions Cup going, no way. I'm not coming to Europe.
So it wasn't temperature per se which was so bad, but the wind chill and the wet. And, I was stood next to our winger, Tom, and I had to hug him tight at half time because he was shaking. I was shaking, but I had the luxury of scrimmaging. If I'd stayed on, I'd have been okay. But coming off broke me. I should have stayed on.
I did once played at Liverpool St Helens about this time. I think it was the in-between Christmas game, and I played 60 minutes, and I had to come off. I was so cold.
Yeah.
I was playing fullback in the game, and it was just brutally cold. It was
one of those. My brother played for Sale Sharks at Glasgow, and
repeat of this week's fixture.
Oh yeah, it was actually. Yeah, funny you say that. Yeah, and they. When they came off the game afterwards, the sweat had frozen, so their hair was like
icicles
on the hair.
Oh my god!
It was like -15, that sort of weather. It was horrendous.
Brutal.
So yeah, well done to anyone who turned out and played over the
Yes.
weekend, because it would not have been fun.
Well,
Definitely. winning is always fun. So if you won, it's worth
if I
it.
had won that game, it'd be one of the best games
The
I've ever
shower
played.
must have felt amazing though, Jay.
I forgot my towel. Right, so at the end of the game, I got my bag and I was watching the last of the game from the entrance of the changing room. And as soon as that whistle went, I got in my car, sat in my heated seats. I could not move from the car park for 20 minutes.
But how good is that feeling when you do warm up after being that cold? It's like when you're desperate for a wee. It's horrendous. But then when you let go, it's orgasmic. That feeling of release.
I was all last night. I was done. So I got in the bath. I tried to heat up for an hour, and as I came out, I was shivering still. I could not tell you how bad I felt yesterday.
Well, you travelled from Trafford Metrovix to here,
2
which
miles.
is about 10 minutes in the car. If you're
because United were playing.
Oh yes, they were. So you had a horrible journey.
I had like 40 minutes.
At least you didn't have to go from Plymouth to Darlington. After that,
Yeah,
Fair play to those boys.
yeah. Well done, lads. Well done.
yes, I remember playing at Rotherham.
Who won, Plymouth or Darlington, by the way?
It was only home wins. So Plymouth won, Darlington a very miserable bus journey back. I remember playing at Rotherham about this time of year, long time ago, and so Rotherham been in the Premiership, big club, a lot of money behind them. The hot water wasn't working in the showers after the game.
Oh, no.
So to warm up, we had to have cold showers.
Cold showers actually do make you warmer, though.
No, it didn't. I can tell you it didn't.
That's like people that tell you to have a cup of tea when it's boiling hot and it will cool you down.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not buying it.
That is lies. That's just wrong.
Yeah, so do you want to talk about this weekend's action? Because there's lots of it, but I don't think much worth talking about.
We'll talk about the big picture here first. Okay. The Champions Cup started. There was round one. What are the feelings about it? And you can take that however you want. The standard of play, the matchups overall, the new broadcaster, your level of interest.
Well, I thought the broadcast teams were easily the best part of the weekend. I thought the Northampton setup was absolutely outstanding.
Dynamite.
I just dynamite.
It was nice to be back at a Premiership rugby club.
I bet it was, actually. I bet it was
nice to be in that tunnel and chatting to the DORs and stuff.
And chatting to my boy for next year, Joano Augustus.
Yeah.
Is that where he's gone?
Yeah, he's going to Ulster.
Yeah, going to Ulster next season.
Just very briefly, because while we're talking Northampton and you've just mentioned Joano Augustus, this is the first time I've in the flesh watched Henry Pollock.
Oh, he's good, isn't he?
I'm 100% on board the Henry Pollock.
He's hard, isn't he? He's tough.
Well, I don't know which train to back, actually, because Pollock and Guy Pepper are both superb.
I think Pollock's somehow just a little bit more dangerous.
Oh, I don't know.
What I like about...
They're both so good.
What I like about... the thing I like most about Henry Pollock is if you ask Henry Pollock who's the best out of Henry Pollock and Guy Pepper, he wouldn't even answer you. He'd just laugh.
I don't think he knows who Guy Pepper is.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't know who Guy Pepper is. The level of swagger, the way he walks with his shoulders back. Remember that Conor McGregor walk that he did in the ring? He just walks like that.
I wonder. So I was listening to. Oh yeah, I've got something for you guys later. But I was listening to a podcast today about how young men, in fighting or military or whatever it is, how good they are before they face their first real setback. And I wonder when Pollock's going to face his first real setback. Because so far he's had it all his own way. Even when he's losing, he looks bloody good. He's been man of the match several times in games this season. He's looked amazing for England A, under 20s. The guy is he just has it. And like I say, that kind of swagger. And we talked about it before, plastic energy. It got described by Bongi and Badambi. He has loads of that plastic energy. Every knock on, he's there jumping up and down. Yeah. And I think he would. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the senior Northampton lads just say, "Here, just tone it down, just pipe down a little bit."
That's where he needs big coats on his shoulder.
Yes,
he would have put an arm just on his shoulder and said, "Just
knock on, mate."
Just. Yeah,
can you imagine
reel it in
a
little bit.
It's a knock on.
Yeah,
very bothered.
So he would have got man of the match had man of the match been given 1 minute later when he scored that 100%.
Try. Do you think? So I look at Pollock and I just see shades of a Curry. I don't know which one.
Totally, both Currys. That's exactly what I thought. That's exactly the comparison. 100%.
Yeah, I see that.
Although I'd say the Currys were probably
the Currys are bigger though, aren't they? Does he look big in real life?
No, but the Currys filled out loads.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
But I would also say Pollock's maybe 1 year behind the Curry. The Currys were at Pollock's level at 18, and he's there at 19.
Yeah, I would send.
But
that's a good point.
Both similar.
I would send him to South Africa for a bit of an education. You must send him to Sharks. I mean, no, don't, because he'll never play. But send him somewhere where you get filled in all of the time.
Well, how about, and whether he'd get in the team or not is a different question, but this is probably another sort of talking point with an England hat on. Send him to Toulouse, because how much better has Jack Willis got?
Yes,
a couple of seasons at Toulouse.
That's a good shout. So a swap. You've got Jack Willis to another level. We'll take him back now, but just get one of our next amazing flankers to another level.
If you really do care about the national team, and I don't mean care about it like, it makes a lot of money.
If you want England to win a World Cup,
if you really want the best for it, you wouldn't just have a handful of players centrally contracted that you say, we're just going to keep them in the Premiership. And I love the Premiership. Don't get me wrong, it's not as good as the women's Premiership, right? But maybe it's worth, if you've got these guys on central contract, give them sabbaticals early doors. Now would be the time. Some in top 14, some in Super Rugby, whatever it is, and then bring them back. If you're really taking it seriously. Otherwise, it's just like a protection system for the Premiership owners, really.
That's my reading of the central contracts. Yes, there's all this talk about Steve Borthwick and his coaches get more control of conditioning, and can have more say about maybe what position they play or what games they play and all that sort of stuff. But I actually think it's the central contracts are subsidising the Premiership teams to bridge the gap between a top 14 salary that they would be able to get and the Premiership salary that they're able to get.
Exactly what I've been saying
and
for years.
that's just a negative mindset.
Because the top 14 is not going to stop growing, and that gap is going to get bigger. And it's going to have to be bridged by the owners who are getting very tired of this, or the RFU.
And England, 2 years with Toulouse, playing with all those amazing players. Jack Willis he stands out in that Toulouse team.
All right. So which players, right, would you select and where would you send them? So Pollock is going to South Africa. Or Toulouse.
Or Bordeaux.
Why Bordeaux, so we can finish second?
More likely to play than Toulouse.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
No, but Pollock to the Bulls, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, that's far more.
Yeah.
Pollock to the Bulls would
because
be good.
I think the most, the most influential people on the Curries must be the Duprees, right? They play like South Africans now, so I would say send them straight to the Bulls.
Yeah, that's a good shout. With the cowards of the Bulls,
I would
Jake
send. I might. Yeah, Chandler Cunningham South would be another one that I'd want to go somewhere.
Now
he's 21.
Now he strikes me as more Toulousian. That would be quite nice.
He's just a very large man. Maybe not Toulouse, but a French team, yeah.
What about one of the fly halves to Leinster? Now, you've obviously got to persuade Irish rugby it's a great idea to be nurturing an English fly half, but why not?
Yeah. They obviously don't need him, but Ulster do.
Ulster would definitely take him.
But you'd want them to go to Leinster, you're right.
I quite like Morgan, the Kiwi lad who's been brought in for Ulster after Munster stole Billy Burns. But Ulster's not the right place for anyone at the moment. I'll put it that way.
Asher Opoku for Jaw to the Sharks.
Yep. What about
that's a good shout, actually.
Do you remember when I told you he'd won everything? Like, he's 20 games into his England career and he's never lost a game. In fact, I don't think he'd lost a professional game of rugby. I sent him to a Welsh region to really understand what hardship is, how to deal with loss, and then bring him back. I think he'd be a better player for that.
We need a promising centre to go somewhere.
Super Rugby.
Well.
Who's going to send to?
Yeah, a promising centre to the Blues.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
So,
is Dan Kelly too far down?
He was a good young set. Tim Litchfield or
Seb Atkinson. Northmore's maybe a bit too
old. A bit old now. Lennox Anyamu's going to France, but
he is going to France.
He is going to France.
Reported 300k.
What
was the figure that I read?
That's why. Well, I'm pretty sure that Jonathan Opoku.
Oh yeah, at Racing.
Yeah, the second row.
Is he not at Lyon? Or is that
his brother, Joel?
There's one at Lyon and one at Racing, yeah? Whichever.
There's Joel Kapoku.
Joel,
is the elder one at Lyon.
Right.
And then Jonathan is at Racing, the younger guy. And in the England under-20s.
He's on 300 a year, allegedly, right?
Joel
in Lyon.
Yeah.
Now, the best one in the world, I know who he is because I watch rugby. Would I pay him 300 a year? So if that's the standard of player that the French are paying at that level, that is wild.
So it is confusingly Joel, Jonathan, and Junior are the three.
Oh, Junior's the one. Junior's the one.
So
is he?
Joel is at. He's now at Pau or Po. Jonathan is his twin brother. Is Joel's twin brother. He is at CS Bourgogne-Jallieu, which must be a lower league French team.
I think that's
and then
third division.
Junior Kapoku is only 19. He's 6'8" and 120 kg at 19, and he's the one who's at Racing.
And has been starting at Racing, albeit they're not top of they're outside the playoffs, but he's starting at Racing. And he's one of the players that apparently they're thinking about using a central contract spot to get him back to England.
Wow. So off the top of my head, and I could be wrong, so I apologise to anyone who knows the real figures, and these are not the real figures, these are figures on just that I recall, right? I think the lad at Lyon, whichever one it is, was on 80,000 a month, which is 80,000 euros would be about 300,000.
It would not.
Would it not?
It'd be a lot more than that.
80,000 euros.
Well,
80,000.
But when he first moved,
80,000 a month.
Can't
the 12 months.
No, can't be that. Can't be that.
It can't be that.
No.
And that's,
can't be that.
even if it was paid over like the 10 months of the actual active season, that's like 700k.
Yeah, it's definitely
It's not that.
It's definitely not that.
No.
It could be 40.
Maybe it's 40.
40 grand a month.
But if
I know it came to about 300 a year.
But just to the Jack Willis point, if you were just looking after your career and not thinking about the pride and what's in your heart, if you were being just purely business, then Junior Kapoku would make a mistake by coming back and playing for England, because he could always have a 3-year stand-down period and play for England later. Why not start out being French?
Start playing for France.
Because he can always come back and play for England after.
Good point. And also, do you want to come back to England? And what is your ambition? Because do you want to be one of those guys that does the circuit as an ex-England international? It doesn't sound like much fun, to be honest. Like, I hear the stories about the World Cup winning team who are still paraded around, and it just sounds miserable, frankly. It sounds really quite miserable.
Stay where you are. If you're in the top 14, and I'd stay where he is, and just hope that England just got to change the rules. They just have to.
Yeah, there's too much development, too much quality, too much to learn not to have these guys coming back.
It was put really well. Sorry, Phil.
Yeah, no
it was
problem.
put really well, where someone said England players play for the RFU, they don't play for England, and that's perfect.
And they don't particularly like the RFU.
No.
Certainly not at the moment with all the revelations, which we spoke about last week, and we've had some very good emails on the section on Bill Sweeney and the RFU last week, and it just continued to grow.
I've literally seen none of the emails. I'm not on the email account, so I need to.
You need to get on the email account.
But has it been busy?
It's been busy, yeah. A lot of people say, like, basically saying equal parts, laughing along, shaking their head, and being apoplectic at the RFU and specifically Bill Sweeney for the greed, the exploitative nature that he's operated in. I really think it is. But there's also so the talk of the championship clubs seeking a vote of no confidence, or however they would do it. I'm not actually sure if it's that clear, but the referees, the Rugby Football Referees Union, they have got a members' vote on seeking an extraordinary meeting and a special resolution of vote of no confidence.
So the update this week is that the Rob Udwin, I think his name is, the chairman of the RFU.
He's the president.
Sorry.
Tom Ilyub is the chairman.
He's the chairman who's under fire. Rob Udwin, the president, has called a special meeting on the 18th of December. He also is the person that, when this first happened, called it
media clickbait.
Media clickbait.
Yeah.
That was his email to the organisation, was that it was media clickbait. And now all of a sudden he's called a meeting, which leads me to believe he doesn't actually think there's anything to talk about. He just wants to manage the PR situation.
Yeah, do you know?
And it looks better calling a meeting than having a special a vote of no confidence. So now he'll kick it into the long grass if anyone asks him about it. Oh, we got a meeting on December the 18th, and then once that meeting's done, it would be Christmas. Then it's New Year.
Dismissing people's concerns as media clickbait.
I know.
It's just so low level.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so pathetic.
How much more and more does Will Carling just look absolutely spot on? The RFU is 57 old farts in blazers.
No, I mean the 57 old farts in blazers were preferable to what we've got. I mean, I wouldn't even go as far to say that they are that good. But having been party to the Lancashire reps and how they spoke at the two meetings that I went to, I mean, it blew my mind actually. I mean, one of them in particular, I'm sure he's a lovely guy. But, you know, we're on the precipice of what I think is one of the most damaging things, and I think it probably has been very damaging, the high tackle law change. Both the perception of it, the way it's been communicated to the wider public, which is rugby is dangerous, and that's been a thing which still hangs around now. And also the exodus of players, which have still not replaced. Like, they'll say, oh, well, look at the GMS. I know from playing the game, we lost a lot of players, right?
There's been articles recently about the number of clubs playing without a first team now.
That's mad.
There was a really interesting article about just that.
Yeah,
released about a week ago.
And the demographic of rugby players getting older, yada yada yada, right? But his primary thing was to tell you, this is the Lancashire meeting now, the Lancashire up, about his weekend in Twickenham. I was like, we know the weekend in Twickenham. I saw it on TV. Can we talk about Lancashire rugby, please?
It's always great going hospitality at Twickenham. Any sporting venue.
That's like that bit of The Office where David Brent says, there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is one of the branches is going to close. The good news, I got a promotion.
Yeah, it's kind of similar.
It's so tone deaf. But Sweeney is even, I think he's worse than that, because he's presided over everything that you've just mentioned, JB, and also just in this year, 42 people lost their job.
Yeah.
£40 million loss. I don't care if, I said it last week, I don't care if that loss is predicted. The overheads went up £10 million in a year that you're predicting a loss.
Well, yeah, and if the overhead, the thing that doesn't match about those two things, the redundancies and the loss, which was planned and known for. It's okay that it was planned and known for. Well, why are you making 42 redundancies then?
Yeah. Yeah,
if you baked it in.
Why is your overhead going up by 10 million if it's not? But that combined with, you got an 8.5% pay rise this year, taking the total to over 70% pay rise in 5 years, which has been some of the worst 5 years for the RFU, and a £350,000 bonus this year that takes his earnings in the single year to 1.1 million. It is an absolute disgrace.
Phil is one of the most
angry about it.
Phil's one of the most measured people we know, and he's really angry. And back to your point about the representatives, if they were truly representing their constituent body, they would have already had a letter in with a vote of no confidence. But the fact is that it limped towards the 20 that it would have needed to have triggered it.
It's very manipulative.
At which point the RFU president went, OK, we'll have a meeting then. We'll have a chat about it.
Yeah, media clickbait. Grow up. I was going to mention something else then, but it's escaped my mind, so I shall not.
OK. So overall thoughts on the Champions Cup. We saw a sort of mismatched results, really.
I was very encouraged by Friday night's game. I was like, if this continues, this is going to be a dynamite weekend. La Rochelle, up in Bath.
It was fun, wasn't it?
That's a good game. That's a good game, which was thoroughly enjoyable. And then after that, do you know what I thought? Tim's boys at the Bulls might have been right all along. I might have been criticising them, but actually, what were they saying? We're not playing in this competition. Like, maybe they started the rot rather than reacting to it. But all the games which were not home wins were routs. I mean, there's one close result, which I think was Bath and La Rochelle.
Bath-La Rochelle was 4 points. That was the only game.
That's the only one within bonus point territory,
within
isn't
a
it?
score. No other losing bonus points.
And everyone else gets hammered.
Stormers
Toulon won away by 10. Leicester were within 14 of Bordeaux. Harlequins were within 11 of Racing. But it's not...
Yeah, Quins Racing was closer. Leicester was very close at half-time, and then Bordeaux scored 3 brilliant tries in the first 5-10 minutes of the second half, and it was just game over.
But I mean, I was working and therefore watching Northampton Castra, and I was thinking, like, after about in the second half, I was thinking, honestly, who's watching this?
Yeah,
except for a Northampton fan.
I watched it because I was on the bike I was on the turbo trainer doing a long ride. It wasn't. It was just Cass sent a second team. Yeah. It was poor conditions. Northampton did what they needed to do, and that's it. So end of. There's
would you get paid for playing in the Champions Cup?
You'll get a share of the TV money.
So I think, particularly for the long treks, it costs you.
Yeah, I've got a feeling.
Really?
I mean, I always remember Sale saying that to play in the Champions. No, the other one. The lower one.
Challenge
Cup, it actually costs them money.
Yeah, I can see that with the Challenge Cup, because the TV money would be a fraction.
Yeah.
The Champions Cup, I would assume, particularly if you get a knockout home game.
Knockout home game, yes, correct.
Will definitely
What I do believe to be the case is the Croke Park semi-final last year, Northampton Saints, it was 81,000 people. Northampton Saints got 0.
Really?
So it cost them money. It cost Northampton Saints. They had to pay. You get money to get your teams to South Africa, or 30 people, I think, is the budget. And obviously you have to take more backroom staff. So it still ends up costing you. But you get budgeted for 30 people to go to South Africa. But it cost Northampton a big chunk of cash to go to Leinster, and Leinster got 100% of the 81,000 at Croke Park.
I mean, I would make the argument, which is if everyone signs up and you say, look, it's all or nothing. You get the home semi-finals. That's why you pay for it. So that's what you play for. You all go into this knowing the situation. Okay, fine, like whatever. But on the other hand, this was the premier competition in all of rugby. This was the greatest competition, and actually it had the potential to be even better than international rugby. I said 2 years ago that my biggest worry about that game, which was Toulouse versus La Rochelle, is this is the last great final. No, not the last great final. This is the pinnacle of domestic rugby. I don't think we'll ever see anything greater. And if this version of the Champions Cup continues, and if it continues to decrease like it has this weekend, it's been rubbish, frankly. I was right, and I don't want to be right. I want it to be the greatest competition on the planet for rugby, and it should be. I
think one of the biggest issues, and I'm not advocating changing it again because there's been so much changing, but the pool stage, there's just not the jeopardy on it.
There's not. You're absolutely right.
It doesn't matter that you lose.
Which is probably why they're sending second teams. Win your home games.
Well, I actually think for the most part, teams did, like Benetton got panned by Claremont, but they did send a first full-strength team.
But not everyone did. Like Cass
not everyone did.
Leicester didn't. Leicester didn't play a full-strength team.
Toulon did.
Toulon, no. Yeah, Toulon didn't. Actually, that was interesting and won.
Yeah. So
but the Bulls did. The Bulls did send a full.
Well, they didn't have a few. They didn't have Arenzer, didn't have Elwick Lowe, didn't have another couple of frontline players, but they did have a lot.
It was a strong team, stronger than they played in Northampton last year. But
with it being 4 pool matches in a 6 pool thing, and the only 8 teams go out.
But what you are playing for is that home semi-final.
Yes, you are.
Oh, sorry, home.
Agreed.
Round of 16.
Yes,
because home round of 16, you get the money and you've got the shot of a quarter-final home, semi-final home. So there is some significant incentive there. The problem, so another major theme that's linked into this is the weakness of the Premiership teams. So 2 Premiership teams won, both of them were at home. One of them was against a significantly weakened Cass team, and that was Northampton. One of them was against a 90% strength Bulls team, and that was Saracens. So the Premiership is not strong enough, and that is definitely down to the salary cap being significantly reduced and the marquee players being significantly reduced. Now that goes back up next season. It's currently 5 million. It goes up to 6.4 million, which is about 90% of what it was pre-COVID, but with only 1 marquee spot rather than 2 marquee spots. That will, if the top clubs choose to spend it, that will help from an English perspective and from an overall tournament perspective, because you won't see Exeter being hammered, Sale being hammered. Who else got hammered? Bristol got hammered at home. Bath lost narrowly. So you'll see better overall balance in the competition. But what I will say is this weekend, just because of the weather, there were some big results. We might not see that every time. It might level off and even out over the course when the weather is a bit better.
Well, so the Premiership teams, Sale have Racing at home on Friday night.
Okay, that's winnable.
Do you want to go and watch Stuart Lancaster?
I would love to watch Dan Lancaster, Stuart Lancaster, and Owen. I'd love to see.
Owen's injured.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's had groin surgery.
And they look better with Gilbert at 10 than Dan Lancaster. Anyway, and then Northampton are going to the Bulls, and Northampton are...
But to finish that off, me and Phil are in Liverpool.
We are.
I'm actually going out to dinner as well at Louis, which I don't know if you heard it. Apparently it's good.
What is it?
Your lad's place?
In Manchester. No, sadly not.
No, I've not heard of Louis. No. You're too trendy for me.
Northampton, Bulls v Northampton. So the Saints are going away to the Bulls, and they are taking a full-strength team.
Are they? Got confirmed? Yeah.
Is that confirmed from the club, is it?
Well, when I say the team, they're taking their whole squad out. Phil Dowson said, we're looking forward to spending the time together as a squad.
Oh God!
So it could just be that they're having a bit of a trip, and they don't. But they might go for the win. which would be good to see.
Basically going on tour. All the senior lads having beers.
Leicester are at home to the Sharks. My guess is that will be Sharks without Khaleesi, Etzebeth, and Che, Fassi, etc.
Possibly. Although they were in the Challenge Cup last time and they went for it, didn't they? I would have thought. I think they'll go for it.
Yeah, I'd like to think they would.
I think they will.
And then you've got Bristol away to La Rochelle.
That's going to be a tough night for Pat Lam and his boys, who did very well for the first half. Got to say, they defended very, very well. But this is one of the differences you'll see. And we saw it in the Leicester game, we saw it in the Bristol game. Yeah, teams will be able to match, and even in the Exeter game to a degree.
Yeah.
Teams will be able to match their opposition for 30, 40, 50 minutes.
You're going to have a quiet 5 minutes, though.
You're going to have a quiet 5 minutes, and it'll be exploited. Like Bordeaux's 5 minutes that straight after half-time. And also when the benches get emptied. And when you can bring Sneyman and Byrne and Geordie Barrett and
Doris Porter and Sneyman coming on at the same time.
Brilliant.
And Geordie Barrett.
Geordie Barrett was already on. Yeah, that 6 minute window, 2 Prendergast tries and Geordie Barrett in between.
Yeah, I mean, who's the strongest bench in the Premiership? Maybe Bath. Bath.
If
Stewart's or someone.
If everyone's fit.
A handful of handy back rows can come on. They're not Sneyman, Geordie Barrett, Doris, are they?
But this week in the Bath game, Bath, they were in it. There's 4 points. There was a scrum late on because Thomas Dutoy had to play loosehead because Benno Urbano was injured. You weren't bringing Will Stewart off the bench. You were bringing Archie Griffin off the bench.
Another international,
international tight head, 1 of 3, and he gave away another scrum penalty by getting dominated. I'm very hopeful for Archie Griffin long term because he's getting experience that no other 21-year-old is getting.
Tell you what, if he's no good, he's getting some brilliant experience, isn't he? What an education for a young man who's not good at scrimmaging.
At some point, he will start to get it because he's got size. He's a big boy.
That or he's like a guy in a trench that gets mortared every day. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that you get more resilient to mortaring. In fact, quite the opposite.
Just worse PTSD every single day.
This is actually quite a good way to talk about the games we've just seen, is by looking at the fixtures in round 2.
Oh, yes.
So let me just run through them. Friday night, you've got Castres hosting Munster. Now, Casts, and I never know how much of the you put on the Castres. I think it's Castres.
In comms, they were doing quite a bit. Castres.
It's definitely not that.
No, I don't. I just say cast.
Cast.
But I also say Po. Pow.
So
not Po.
The actual proper name of that is Section Palois.
Palois.
Oh, there we go.
So Castres play Munster, and Castres' record this season, top 14 and Champions Cup combined, is played 6 at home, won 6 at home, including against Toulouse. Played 6 away, lost 6 away.
Nice. So they're
good at home, are they?
And they sent a second string team to Northampton. They've really set their stall out.
Yeah,
I think it was Cast who went to Leicester, right? And this is during the Matt Williams era. Is it Williams? Matt Williams? Matt Williamson?
Matt
O'Connor. Matt O'Connor,
the former DOR.
The Matt O'Connor era. Who's Williams then? There was a Williams, wasn't there? He was coach of Scotland.
Hold on, I'm just going to play a song for a second. Hold on.
Yeah, Matt Williams was coach.
Do you know who this is?
I'm not very good at songs.
It's a 90s band. Oh, come on. Get to the blimmin' words. Sorry, I need to play a line. Hold on. Ring a bell?
No.
I know it, but I don't know. I can say who it is.
Is it Feeder or something?
It's not.
No, you're in the... Not a million miles away. Cast.
Gas.
Right.
Of course it is.
I know nothing about music.
Matt Williams was Waratahs, Leinster, Scotland, Ulster.
That's the boy.
And then Timisoara Saracens in Romania.
Well, interestingly, Matt Williams has nothing to do with this story.
Yes.
So Matt O'Connor. Right. When I thought Matt O'Connor was actually going to be good at Tigers was when Tigers put out their full strength team and they played magnificent rugby against Cast and they battered them. And I think That was the year that Leicester Tigers said, right, we might not win the Premiership because Saracens, but we're going to win Europe. And then they absolutely tanked. But the backline was Tuolangi, Ford, Eastman, May, I think Salusa Viana and someone else. And they had that guy who they got from Coventry. Do you remember Valentina, what his name was?
Valentin.
A Tongan lad, Valentin something in the back row.
I remember. I know the one you're talking about.
Just some superb offloading. I think Dom Barrow.
Dom Barrow
Might have been playing too.
as a very young man.
Yeah. Anyway, they were amazing, but it turns out Castle made them look amazing, and then they had one of the worst seasons in Tigers history.
So Castro up against Munster, who look kind of average and a bit shaky in the URC, but just turn it on at Thomond Park in the Champions Cup.
They did. Did you see any of this game?
Oh, yeah, I saw bits and bobs.
So I watched the highlights. Didn't watch it live because I was watching. I can't remember what other game was it. Saracens on at the same time.
Yes.
So highlights. That Munster kit is appalling.
There's so many disgusting kits in the Champions Cup.
What's the Bath kit all about? What precluded Bath from wearing hoops against yellow?
The Bath kit was horrible. Exeter Chiefs need to stop the novelty kits.
No, they're okay. They are the only ones that are okay.
No,
because it's part of their culture now, isn't it? They have to have a
horrible haircut, horrible kits.
Munster with a kit that looks like it's faded in the wash. Leinster's kit was horrible.
Yeah, Leinster's was awful.
Bristol's wasn't good.
No, I'm kind of used to that.
Are they even in the Champions Cup?
Sorry.
No.
That's a shame because they're allowed a terrible kit. So it's only Exeter and Ospreys that allow terrible kits. In fact, it's mandatory.
No Welsh teams were in there, unfortunately.
I'm not a big fan of Toulouse's kit this year. They had they're one in the top 14 last year. That plain black one with the collar was so lovely.
Two things are really starting to wind me up now. Now I'm thinking about them. They weren't winding me up before the podcast, but now they're really starting to get me angry. Number one would be Munster. The reason Munster get me angry is because there's something so special about Munster in the Heineken Cup.
In the red with the blue arms, the blue shorts.
I mean, I don't pay any attention to the URC, but I tell you what, watching Munster in full flow with names I don't really know some of the times, just battering lads because it's Europe and that's what Munster does.
Shane Daly's try was unreal.
Yeah, that was very, very good.
I mean, this is what I want to see, but I want to see them in the actual kits because this is the showpiece of European rugby. I don't want to see pale impressions of rubbish teams in terrible kits. I want Toulouse in their kit. I want Bath in hoops.
What were Quins wearing? Did they have
the Quins kit was quite nice. Yeah, their European kit, and it looked greeny, like black and red.
No, I want them in quarters.
I didn't mind the Harlequins one.
Clash,
I didn't mind the Quins one. What I will say, just on the Munster gate, the Stade Francais. So Stade Francais had they had both of their locks, their starting locks, red-carded. Within 5 minutes of one another, which is, when the game's going away from you, it's not a good option to have that.
It was like there was a Pokemon convention in the Champions Cup this year. The number of cards that were dished out, it was nuts. There was a red card for the tackle on Marnie Libok. It was awful.
Yeah. That is 100% a red card.
He's hospitalised. I can't believe he was hospitalised. Yeah, there was a debate about trying to do you think there's mitigation there? It was like, this is the reddest red card I've ever seen.
But then, so on those two, the Stade Francais two, the first one, definitely a red card. It was a swinging arm that hit Peter O'Mahony square in the face.
Yeah, I mean, Peter O'Mahony did fall, but you got a swinging arm. So
it's always illegal.
It's always illegal.
If you're reckless enough to swing your arm at somewhere near someone's head and you make contact with that head, it doesn't matter if they fall, change direction, you're swinging your arm near someone's head. The second one, I had a little bit of sympathy.
The WWE tombstone.
Casey. But it was, so, I don't know if you've seen this, Jay.
Go on.
Casey,
I have not seen this.
It starts like a textbook. You know the tombstone where someone's upside down?
Oh, yeah.
Head between knees, arms around waist.
Casey has the ball low, and the second row scoops round his waist, and basically the second row stands up, and because Casey's so much lighter than him, he must be giving away like nearly 50 kilograms. All of a sudden, Casey must be close to 40 or 50 kilograms lighter than this bloke. All of a sudden, Casey is completely upside down, about to get tombstoned, and the second row just panics, and he kind of rolls back on himself, and Casey lands on his side. It was a horrifically dangerous situation that actually I thought the second row mitigated, and I don't think it should have been. I think it should have been a yellow, because you can't just pick someone up upside down like that.
Unless you can.
Well, you can do,
Yeah.
but you shouldn't. But I thought that was a bit harsh to be a red.
Yeah, Nankivel.
But it didn't matter.
Nankivel got a yellow and should have got a red as well.
Yes.
And the Sharks were down to 12 men at one point. Probably should have been down to 11. And Exeter still couldn't score.
No, Exeter.
Exeter started well.
Yeah.
Dan Frost tried with
Two
a
tries
driving
for him.
maul, and Faye were both so with a crossfield kick.
Yeah.
But
They deserve to lose for that kit.
yes, I'm okay with that.
But they'll be gutted they didn't get a losing bonus point.
Yeah. And Leicester did get a losing bonus point after I was certain that they weren't going to get one. After the game just went so far away from them. And so Leicester were...
Oh, just finally on the stash. I'll come back to
yeah.
Leicester. Just finally on the stash. Claremont's kit is disgusting. So there's so many horrible
I didn't
kits.
see any of that.
Did you see the amazing kit which I found on Instagram the other day?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wasn't that
South
absolutely
America
glorious?
XV 1980s.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say, we'll come back to it. You might as well say it. Yeah. So there was like a South American version of the British and Irish Lions.
I had no idea about
Which
this.
must be Uruguay, Argentina,
Chile.
Brazil and Chile.
So there was 4 badges on it. Let me just...
So the
Definitely
Puma-
one of them was Uruguay and one was Argentinian.
Yeah. I can't remember what the other badge was. But do you know what I thought? And I don't know this at all, right? But they were playing South Africa, and it was a long time ago. And I was wondering if they were formed because, obviously, South Africa was in an apartheid regime, and they couldn't play a lot of other nations. I wonder if that's why they were formed.
Maybe.
They've not had many games. Glorious kit, though.
It's a lovely kit.
The team that toured was mainly made up of Argentina players and included a few Uruguayan, Chilean, Paraguayan, Brazilian, and even some Spanish players.
Bloody hell.
Over the
Very
years.
cool. That would be quite a cool team.
I'd rather see them play than the Lions.
Yeah.
Is that controversial?
Yeah, go on.
Here we go. So the badge is made of 4 animals. Tell me which country these animals represent.
There's
a puma,
There's
or possibly a jaguar.
Yeah.
Argentina.
Oh, actually, no. So the puma is Argentina. A condor.
Condor, that will be Chile.
Yeah.
Chile.
In the Andes, isn't it?
A lapwing, a southern lapwing.
Which is Uruguay. That's the Los Telos
well
badge.
done.
The badge, yeah.
And a jaguar, which is... So they've got a
The
puma
Jaguar
and a jaguar.
Because as the story goes, the Pumas only became called the Pumas because...
Mistranslation.
because it was a mistranslation and their badge was a Jaguar. But now it's
Which
a
is
Puma.
why it's Jaguares.
Yeah.
It's Paraguay. But then, so this is from the Wikipedia page that says the badge includes a puma, a condor, a lapwing, and a jaguar representing Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, and Paraguay, respectively. I then open up the badges, and you tell me which one of those animals we've not named.
Would it be the alligator?
Yes, it would.
Or is it a crocodile? Maybe it's a caiman.
It might be a crocodile or an alligator. So there is
Or a caiman.
There is a jaguar / puma. There is a condor. There is a lapwing. I'm sure you can confirm that, JB. And there is an alligator or a crocodile on there.
They should put. They should have the new team and put some of Pablo Escobar's cocaine hippos on there.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful stuff.
You were saying Leicester, Phil.
Leicester. So yes, great start. They were so exhausted. So they had to score 4 tries. Basically, from before half-time, they knew they had to score 4 tries. They were so exhausted towards the end of that game that they couldn't even support their own man. As in, they were getting turned over every single time they took the ball in. There was no support at any stage until the 83rd or 84th minute when they finally got over the line. They must have not seen the stats, but they must have turned over 15. They must have had 15 ruck turnovers conceded in that second half. It was nuts.
God, I forgot that Slamini played for Leinster. Did he sign in the off-season this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christ, that's a pickup.
He's about 35 now?
Yeah, but, you're not getting that much weaker at 35
No.
playing prop.
And playing 10 games.
Yes.
Come play 10 games for us, Rabber.
Christ, that's a good signing.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a great signing, that.
And just on the upside, some of the team and individual brilliance over the weekend was just exceptional. You just mentioned Bordeaux, Luku and BLBRA.
Oh, BLBRA.
So
he's becoming a legit world superstar now.
He is awesome. He's so good. And the
By the way, Is he the best winger in Bordeaux?
On form, yes, but no.
But
overall, no.
Only form because Pinot's not been playing.
Yeah.
Pinot's the best winger.
Which is crazy. I mean, I wonder how long... Does that just show, steel sharpens steel? Like, if you want to be great, go to
Bordeaux.
With another great winger.
Well, which English winger can we put in Bordeaux?
Faye Waboso.
Yeah, Faye Waboso.
Send him to Bordeaux.
Yeah, I'll take him for a year.
Well, imagine the skills he would add to his game, because he's brilliant at chasing kicks.
He is brilliant at chasing kicks.
Putting shots in, just energy.
Does he not feel a little bit more like
racing-y
to you?
He does, but that's why I'd like to see him at something like Bordeaux, because he would just add another layer to his game, like Jack Willis has done at Toulouse.
And also, I don't want Stuart Lancaster anywhere near him.
Yeah, that's a good point. What about Tommy Freeman? He feels like a guy who could go down well in Bordeaux.
He could do well in Toulouse. In Bordeaux, sorry.
He's a Pinot. He's a pound shot Pinot. He's a very, very good player. He's not Pinot,
if you order Pinot on Timu, Freeman's who you get.
You want someone very talented but with a massive chip on their shoulder who desperately does not want to be the number 2, and then put him in a team with Pinot and watch him try and develop.
JB, you were right. It was Cayman.
I knew I was right.
Cayman of Paraguay. Paraguayan Cayman.
So not a Jaguar.
That was not. There is a Puma, a Condor. This gives me different
results. What's the name of the team?
Sudamerica XV. Sudamerica 15.
I was thinking, if I had a little website which sold replica shirts of cool rugby teams. I've only got 2 which I'd like to sell so far, but one would be that one.
Let me guess the other one. It would be the Milan kit from the 80s when that club existed with Diego Dominguez.
I think it's AC Milan. Owned by Silvio
Berlusconi. Yeah,
that kit.
That's probably my favourite kit.
We've got the Rugby Journal somewhere in this room.
It is somewhere in here with that incredible story.
Drinking Prosecco out of plastic glasses in the change room with Berlusconi afterwards.
Those would be my 2 jerseys. I mean, if you can think of some equally cool jerseys, because I think I could buy the rights for those.
For those 2,
I'm pretty sure they'd be available.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I mean, I'd much prefer wearing that one. I wouldn't wear these other kits, but the Leicester Tigers one of the late 90s with the real bright green.
Yeah, I do like that. But the rule should be only teams you can buy the rights of.
Yeah.
So it's got to be defunct teams, like London Irish.
I wonder if you can buy the rights for either Aroni or Border Reivers. I bet you could get them for Celtic Warriors.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Holiday magic is in the air, and DSW's got all the shoes to make your season extra merry. Believe, you've got parties to attend and lists to check twice, so DSW is taking care of the details, like gifts to make their eyes all aglow, styles that bring joy to your world, brands everyone wants, like UGG, Nike, Birkenstock, and more, and deals to make your budget bright. Find the perfect shoes for you and yours at a DSW store near you or dsw.com.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, none of them are cool enough to make my website.
No.
Well, just an idea. Maybe. No, definitely not Celtic Warriors, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah. Any more cool teams you can think of, let me know.
Just in terms of just amazing, outrageous rugby, just Toulouse. I mean, you just get bored of saying things like Antoine Dupont is amazing, but every time I watch him play, I just feel grateful to be alive at a time when he's playing rugby.
Why are Ulster so bad, Phil?
They didn't pick the strongest team. I think it was a conscious thing. But they're not doing well this season at all. Lost a few, not that many, but a few important players. Other players not being fit and just generally not being good enough.
Are they changing their coach?
No, they have changed their coach. Richie Murphy is the head coach, and he came up with his take on the game afterwards. Do you want to hear the amazing bit of wisdom that came from Richie Murphy?
Yes, please.
Toulouse are quite good at rugby.
That's definitely a take. What he said was, and I quote Richie Murphy, "If you allow a team to score 60 points, it makes life hard for you."
I was actually slightly disappointed in Toulouse in this, because for a big portion of the game they were going at a point
a minute, yes.
And they would have been, if it wasn't for that disallowed try after 90 minutes, they would have been well ahead. They would have gone in at half-time well ahead. 47-7 or 47-14 it would have been.
Just a quick one then. What's happened to the very highly rated Dan, what's his face? Your old coach.
Oh, Dan McFarland.
I
don't know, actually.
Don't know.
Because he was like the belle of the ball not so long ago. Everyone wanted a bit of Dan McFarland.
There was talk of him coming to England.
Potential England coach. Leicester Tigers are interested.
As in come to the Premiership.
I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. Do you think, like...
He's in Japan.
Is he? I do wonder that if these coaches just run out of room. Like, you have an idea, you have a philosophy, and the truly great coaches can change. Or maybe you just, get old at the team.
I like McFarland. I just also didn't. They struggle to keep the players, the good players. They don't have enough big boys. They don't have enough talent. They have some talent coming through, but just nowhere near as much as.
I guess it's easier to judge him retrospectively now, because at the time, when things weren't going well, people went, "Oh, we need a change." But look now, has it?
Yeah.
The times under Dan McFarland look pretty rosy right now. So he did do a brilliant job at Ulster. Everything comes to an end, and he has now since said that the change is what he needed. So,
you have to say about Ulster, they were always competitive. Like, you never thought, oh, we'll go to Ulster, that'll be an easy win ever in the Champions Cup.
Yeah, definitely. And this was away at Toulouse. Obviously, Toulouse are very, very special. But 3 years ago, maybe, McFarland's team beat Toulouse in Toulouse.
Yes.
In a two-leg knockout, which is horrendous. Ulster finished top of the pool stage. Toulouse had injuries and poor form, meaning they only just snuck in and qualified. So Ulster's present for finishing highest seed in the Champions Cup was home and away games against Toulouse. Cheers.
Yep. Whoops. Enjoy.
Yeah.
So Dan McFarland is forwards coach at the Kobe Steelers with Brodie Retallick in his pack.
I would like to see him back in England.
I really would. Yeah, 100% agree with you.
As I say back in England, I know he's English. He played in England. He's never coached in England. Looking at his
really.
So his
coaching. Did he finish playing in Ulster or something? And
he finished playing at Connacht and then went on to coach. Ulster is bottom of his list. So his coaching career: Connacht assistant, Ireland under-20s assistant, Emerging Ireland Wolfhounds, Glasgow as assistant, Scotland assistant, and then Ulster as the head coach. So he's had a storied career, but he's never actually coached in England.
Yeah. I would be an advocate of Dan McFarland being in England. I like that.
Yeah, either as the big job or if he's a forwards coach in Japan, forwards coach in the Premiership.
Anything more to say on Champions Cup? I mean,
what other games did I watch? Saracens, I thought did.
That was a very good performance.
Saracens did very, very well. Very, very well. Because it's no joke, that Bulls team. Talent all round. They scored first.
Yeah.
They had the wind in the first half, which Saracens dealt with very, very well. Mostly. There was an Elliot Daly penalty from in his own 22 that they got the line out in his own 22. Which the ball went forwards and then backwards into his own 22. But I thought they did very, very well. Honourable mention for Willis. Tom Willis.
I thought Tom Willis was great. I thought Maro Itoje he would have been my man of the match. He was absolutely immense. And in terms of defensive line-out, I know you love your line-outs, JB. Is Maro Itoje best in the world? I just think about...
He's pretty good.
sacking. There's no one better at sacking a maul than Maro Itoje.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of repetition and a lot of experience. But I actually like the way that he calls the line out towards the back. So when he's defending towards the back, he's absolutely lethal. But yeah, I mean, there's very few people better.
He wrecked the Bulls line out.
So yeah, it was a very good performance by Saracens.
So the games next week continue. Sale Racing, we've already talked about. Bulls Northampton, Ulster Bordeaux.
Oh, good.
So
Well, I'm going to be winning either way.
Your beloved Ulster and your beloved Bordeaux.
But that is not going to go. That could be another Ulster. Hear me now, believe me later. Ulster will have conceded more than 100 points by the end of in 2 games by the end of that match.
Leicester v Sharks. Don't know what team they're going to send, but that could be spicy.
Yeah, I hope Sharks send a full-blooded team. Leicester will obviously go full bore, but I think Sharks are going to win that.
Do you?
Yeah, I think they will send a strong team. I think they'll send a very strong team.
I kind of don't. I mean, even standing down there, I don't think they're going to send the guys that spent a month over here.
Maybe
and
not.
Played all those games in South Africa. I don't think they're going to do that. Etzebeth, or for one, Fassi went off with a knock. Etzebeth went off with a knock. So I don't think they're going to bring Oxenchae, but their second, even without their frontline players, they've still got a quality squad. I think Leicester will win that one though.
Yeah, so I was just looking up then. Over Christmas, the South African teams play in South Africa.
Yeah.
So Sharks host the Bulls the week after, and then travel to Cape Town to play the Stormers the week after that. So they have got
that's cool.
They've got a little bit of downtime for a couple of weeks over the Christmas period. It's not really downtime playing the Stormers and the Bulls, but they don't have the air travel.
Christmas must have landed quite well for rugby players this year because it's midweek.
Yeah, they can actually have a Christmas.
A day off.
Did I see an advert the other day saying that it might have been on TNT, saying that there's NFL on Christmas Day?
There always is, yeah.
Is there always NFL?
Is it not always Detroit, or is it Cowboys? One of those two always play on Christmas Day, I'm sure of it. The turkey game. Cowboys. Yeah, I'm sure it's Cowboys.
I say very cool. I wouldn't want to go and watch that. I'd want to sit on my sofa.
Is the turkey game not Thanksgiving?
Yeah, the turkey. So I've just
turkey game's Thanksgiving.
While the tradition of football on Thanksgiving has become part of the culture, playing NFL games on Christmas Day is relatively rare. The first time that a pro football game was played on Christmas came in. It's not that rare. 1971.
Ooh, astonishingly rare.
Where does that go?
Cowboys.
Many members. Cowboys v Vikings.
Because it's Thursday this year, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's Christmas Day or Thursday.
Is it Wednesday or Thursday?
Well, they play on
Wednesday.
Thursday.
Oh, it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Sunday. So, yeah.
I wouldn't want to go to a game on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I won't mind watching it, though.
Yeah, on the sofa. It'd be weird going to a stadium on Christmas Day.
Yeah, it might be.
Would you just shift your everything?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think I'd want to go to the stadium on Christmas Day. Boxing Day is perfect for stadiums.
Well, that's, yeah.
Boxing Day is great, yeah. Boxing Day, even 27th. Oh, yeah, so here we go. So, in 1971, there was 2 games. 1989, 1993, 4, 5, 1999, 2000. There's been 25. Then in recent years, actually, there was 1 in 2020.
Who played?
Minnesota Vikings versus New Orleans Saints. Is this backwards and forwards? They always do the reverse thing on in American football, where the second name is at home.
So
this is on Wikipedia. So
that will be at in St. Louis.
At the Mercedes-Benz Super. Yeah, it was. Yes, 2 games in 2021. 3 games in 2022, 3 games in 2023, and just the 2 in 2024. So it's happening a lot at the moment.
God, I've not watched NFL for ages. No. Is it on now, actually?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Leinster, Claremont. So Leinster are going to stuff Claremont.
Yes.
Leinster at Claremont.
No. Leinster at home.
Leinster hosting.
I think
Claremont at the... I think of every stadium in the Champions Cup, Claremont's is the most fun.
Mm.
It's the best stadium I've ever been to, like atmosphere-wise. La Rochelle would probably be a close second, and La Rochelle play Bristol.
Ooh, that'll be tough.
La Rochelle will win that.
I think so.
Yes, they will.
Quins v Stormers. It's quite an interesting game, that. Two teams that are not quite at the level that they were. Stormers.
And that's at the Stoop.
Stormers will be without Libok, as well as without Sasha, as well as without Damien Willemse, as well as without Evan Ruiz.
Yeah.
As well as without Salma Murat and all the rest of them. So they're missing tons of players.
Quins have to win. Quins have to win.
Quins are going to win that.
Yeah.
Benetton Bath. Benetton are much better at home.
Bath need a win.
Bath need a win. They're going to go full bore.
They were the best performing non-victorious English team.
Comfortably.
Yeah.
Toulon, Glasgow. That's a really, really spicy match, that one. Glasgow, if they get a win away in Toulon, they are looking at a top seed, and at Scotstoun, because they play Racing at home, and then their final game is Glasgow are away to Quins. Glasgow could potentially go 4 wins and be a top seed, and if they do, they're a dark horse to win.
And they've showed that...
Pretty good team as well.
Yeah, they've showed that they can win knockout games and on the road. So...
That's a game I'm going to over Christmas, by the way, because I'm up in Edinburgh. I'm going to the 1882 match at
cool.
Murrayfield.
Awesome.
What, is working or YouTubing?
No, I'm just, YouTubing and with...
Perfect.
Just enjoying it.
Yeah, just going to enjoy it.
Awesome. Oh, God, Murrayfield gets so cold in winter. Wrap up, get your long johns.
Yes.
Big boots, 2 pairs of socks.
Harlequins, Benetton Bath, Toulon, Glasgow, Stade Francais, Saracens. I mean, Stade Francais... They probably have to go for it on their home game.
They do.
So they'll go. That'll be interesting. Exeter versus Toulouse.
Once upon a time they could win that game,
and that is the bin juice time game. I mean, as
rightly so. At this point,
Sunday 5:30 p.m. kickoff. I saw some people sort of going, "Oh, well, come Bristol haven't got much. How come there's an empty stand?" It's like it's howling rain and wind, and it's 5:30 p.m. on a Sunday.
It's rubbish time.
Yeah.
So, we finished next week's fixtures.
Yes.
I've got 2 things I want to talk about.
Go on.
So one of them is fun, and the other one is not fun, to put it mildly. So I'll give you the fun one first. Do you know who John McPhee is?
John McPhee.
Yes.
John McPhee.
Not McAfee.
No, John McPhee, not John McAfee. That'd be very interesting if it was John McAfee, right?
No, I don't know.
So John McPhee, he's one of these guys, and he's doing the rounds at the moment because he's an ex-US Special Forces guy. And, you know, I'm not going to lie, I am starting to get bored of listening to ex-Navy SEALs talk about ex-Navy SEALs stuff, but he's a Green Beret, okay? Now, do you know who Tim Kennedy is?
Nope.
Tim Kennedy fought in the UFC, other ex-Green Beret. He's been around for ages. You know, the Joe Rogan types, they're always on those sort of podcasts, right?
Okay.
So Tim Kennedy is a legitimately tough man and describes John McPhee as the ultimate warfighter, right? He said, you know, you put this guy behind glass, and in the case of war, you break it. That's who this guy is. And I've just seen some of his clips on YouTube and whatnot. Anyway, he showed up on the Joe Rogan podcast. And they were talking about fighting and jiu-jitsu and, you know, killing bad guys, loads of bad guys. And the guy is an absolute monster. But then he says this, right? I hope I've got the time right. If not, we'll be editing.
Jiu-jitsu fucks people up. Fucking go play fucking rugby. Matter of fact, stay the fuck away from rugby. Yeah. Like, it's fucking brutal. And like,
no helmets.
No nothing, man. And like, when I was a kid, I don't know if I can say this, but we played Smear the Queer all the time.
Now, before they go on to Smear the Queer, just listen to what he has to say about him playing it, because I won't used to break this down. I think it's quite fun.
All the time. Like, I don't know what you call that, but that's what it was just called when we were kids. I'd come home, my shirt would be ripped. I'd get another beating because, like, you ripped another shirt. These are expensive. You know what I mean? But, like, it's my brother's anyway, right? Like, not like you bought me a shirt. Man, it was like crazy. My first practice, like the ball's sitting there and one of the coaches is like, grab the ball and run. So I just fucking grabbed the ball and just ran every one of these little motherfuckers over. And then like guys were like, man, what college you play in? I was like, None. I never played a rugby a day in my, on my first game, was
rugby.
like fucking in my third practice. You know what I mean? And
That's crazy.
But in doing jiu-jitsu and fighting people in Iraq every night, like I thought rugby was kind of easy. The guy's running at me and I just got to take him down, fucking double legs. And then I started getting more tackles than anyone. And my coach, they keep stats and be like, you had like 80 tackles a game.
What?
How do you do that? And it's like,
how many tackles? How many tackles, John McPhee?
Double leg takedown. Single leg, maybe a trick. Yeah, you know what I mean. And
I would love to have seen this guy play rugby.
Tackles.
I'm guessing maybe 10 of them were legal by the sound of it.
It's like, wow. Now, I guess his point, the man made a lot of tackles.
Yeah.
He's not making a tackle a minute. I mean, he might do, but that would be...
You want a player on your team who relishes tackling that much.
And I'm absolutely sure he relishes tackling. I'm sure he dreams of it.
Even a tackle a minute, there's normally 30, 35 minutes ball in play time. So he's up over 2 tackles. It's like a tackle every 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's
ball in play.
That's some work rate. I mean, it depends. If you're playing USA Rugby, I guess, and it's very narrow to the breakdown, you're doing a lot of Will Griff John work.
Even if you go on, even if you go on 40 minutes ball in play time, and your team has you have the ball for half of that time. That's 20 minutes for the opposition having the
His
ball.
team were very, very bad. Just knock on straight away.
Oh, it's nice to hear rugby being talked about.
Yeah. It is. No criticisms from me of John McPhee in any way, in case John McPhee is listening. Absolutely not. I completely get the point you made. A lot of tackles. It wasn't 80.
But there's come and sign up on GMS for Tok H.
I would definitely play him. I would definitely play him.
So that's the fun thing.
Yeah, the not so much fun thing is David Walsh in the Times, unfortunately. It was just...
You've given him another mention, though.
Yeah, I have.
This is my criticism, but go on.
Because he writes in the Times and people read this nonsense. Now, the problem is, this article that he's written this week is superficially a very sweet article about a guy who's passed away. So the guy who's passed away is a guy called Tom Morris. Unfortunately, Tom Morris worked for Progressive Rugby, an organisation which I have very dim views of, but nevertheless, he's passed away of brain cancer. He is a Gloucester fan. It sounds like rugby ran through his veins, and it also sounds superficially like David Walsh has written a heartfelt obituary about him, kind of thing, like that kind of thing. But actually, he's mentioned. So the headline is this: the tragic lesson of a hero who tried to fix rugby. A brain cannot be replaced. The guy died of brain cancer. Now, you would have thought, wouldn't you, if you're writing that article with that headline, you might want to point out that maybe Tom didn't get his brain cancer through rugby, which I think is a very important point. So although he's done quite a lot of nice writing about who this guy was, and Progressive Rugby, as far as I'm concerned, have added nothing to rugby. In fact, if anything, they've detracted and harmed the game massively. But nevertheless, I feel sad for the individual. It then ends, right, with this little paragraph, which I think is just disgusting, really. The date of death is not without significance. On the same date, November 26, in 2021, the Scotland player Siobhan Casagan died. Now, if you remember this, David Walsh has accused absolutely everybody of in Scottish rugby of some of the worst behaviour I've ever heard, from trying to prevent teammates from going to funerals to basically accusing the doctor of almost like a cover-up of some sort. The implication is she killed herself only because of concussions, which I think I'd need more proof than that, actually, to say conclusively what it was. But he's been completely reckless with this. And if you want to talk about really affecting people, why don't you try telling people like doctors and people in the SRU that they basically all contributed to this girl's death, because it's completely unfair. It's a smear and it's wrong, and he should be ashamed of himself. But there again, he mentions it. A year later, neuron disease, again, on November 26, perhaps in heaven, Tom is tweeting about this mystifying coincidence whilst reminding everyone that we only have one brain and it can't be replaced. I mean,
what he's saying, the mystifying coincidence is
sorry.
Died of brain. Yeah,
I actually missed a line there. A year later, Doddy Weir died after a long battle with motor neuron disease. Now, I think it's also fair to point out motor neuron disease probably isn't caused by any type of concussion. We went over this in detail, actually, during the podcast.
We don't know.
We don't know.
The simple thing is we do not know.
But
it could be, it could not be.
But it's probably not. I mean, there's no actual links to it and concussion. But not that he's mentioned that. He's just written this article as a Trojan horse to get his point of view across that he thinks that rugby is somehow dangerous. And that shouldn't be allowed. I mean, if he's got editors, they should be ashamed of themselves. They should read that and go, hang on, you should really point out that the guy didn't die of brain cancer because of rugby. You should really point out that we're not entirely sure about the Catskin case. And you should really point out that Doddy Weir and MND might not always be linked. Or at all linked, it might be added.
Might have no link at all.
We have no idea. You might want to mention that. Instead, it's a mystifying coincidence. I think the guy's a scumbag. I really do.
Well, that mystifying coincidence is clearly that's the least subtle wink and a nod and a smarmy look.
Yeah, he's incredibly smart. That's a great way to describe this man. Incredibly smarmy.
Well, I was describing that line as that, but yeah.
The way he writes. I mean, you just read it, and it's nonsense. It's nonsense. He makes me incredibly angry.
You did mention this earlier. Again, the truth is, no one does know.
No.
And anyone that claims they do know, or anyone that claims there is a link, is talking out their arse because they don't know.
Yeah.
Or anyone that claims there isn't a link is talking out their arse. We don't know. But I think we have talked about this, as you say, in great depth, and statistically, it's unlikely to be the cause.
Yeah, we don't know what the cause is.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Anyway, you mentioned something earlier when we were talking about the RFU and stuff and the messaging. Again, just more people that supposedly are advocates and fans of rugby who are pushing out messages which are massively detrimental to the sport.
Can I just say, I don't know if you've picked this up, I'm no fan of the RFU. I'm no fan of them. I'm no fan of Bill Sweeney. I would never accuse Bill Sweeney of contributing towards a player's death. I just think it's the most disgusting thing. And you read all of his coverage about Siobhan Catskin, I think he should be ashamed. I think you've got to be a dreadful human to actually write some of the things which he's written. Not because it's necessarily wrong, but because of the implication which he doesn't correct. He just leaves it hanging around like a bad smell that actually these people are somehow implicated in the death of a young lady, and it's just not true. It's just not true. I don't think it's awful. It's absolutely awful, and it makes my blood boil.
Okay, so this guy's clearly a massive rugby fan, or was, and it's sad that he's died. Massive rugby fan, and fought for a cause that he really believed in, and I can admire.
It sounds like he genuinely believed in it.
Yeah, and I can, and he put his money, well, not his money, but his time and effort where his mouth is, and so I think that's commendable. And on that sense, it's nice. I mean, it's nice for anyone that knew him that article's been written.
Yeah, even though it's used as a Trojan horse to get the journalists' point across in the least subtle way possible. I mean, I think if I was the family, I'd feel very used. Actually, I think very, very used, and I think it's like opportunistic. Which tells you everything you need to know about that character.
Oh my God, it's the coolest thing ever. Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? Well, check this out. It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. Seriously. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
Where'd you get those shoes? Easy. They're from DSW. Because DSW has the exact right shoes for whatever you're into right now. You know, like the sneakers that make office hours feel like happy hour. The boots that turn grocery aisles into runways. And all the styles that show off the many sides of you. From daydreamer to multitasker and everything in between. Because you do it all in really great shoes. Find a shoe for every you at your DSW store or DSW.com.
So well done, David Walsh. Absolutely excellent writing. Well done, you absolute hero.
And he's got another mention.
I think we should mention him more because this is what he does to people, isn't it? Like this is what he did to the Scottish medical staff. This is what he did to the SRU. This is what he's linking things which are just not true. His name should be mentioned, and people should say, "Oh yeah, David Walsh, I know him. He's a revolting human that writes terrible stuff." Yes, we know who he is.
One little positive thing.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention 2 players who I thought did very well, admittedly in a bit of a one-sided game, who one has been talked up for England, one hasn't really. I'm just wondering kind of why. In the Northampton Saints game, against admittedly pretty woeful cast, Curtis Langdon was brilliant. JB, you've been calling for him to play international for...
I believe I am a fan.
Many years. He was excellent.
Well, Theo Dan seems to have... His stock has dropped massively this season.
Yeah. Obviously, Cowan Dickey has been finally back to fitness and playing in England thanks to... I guess Luke Cowan-Dickey can thank himself for playing in England because of his situation in and around the
every cloud,
medical. But Curtis Langdon has been excellent for a couple of seasons. He had a great game, and the boy alongside him, Manny Yogan, he had a great game. He carried really hard. He scrimmaged really well. He's just a good all-round player.
He has really gradually been getting better and better.
Yeah.
So we knew his loose game.
Yeah,
because he's always been pretty good at that. His scrimmaging was not great. But has improved year on year.
His scrimmaging, you'd always come to, what's his name? Is it Matt Ferguson? They'd always pan to Matt Ferguson. So how's it going today, Matt? Oh, it's not very good. We're getting hounded in the scrum. Oh, we've got a scrum now. Let's just watch this. Oh no, Matt.
What went wrong there, Matt?
They didn't
everything. But no, I think he's been excellent for a while, and it probably signals the riches that England have at loosehead prop, where you can call on Finn Baxter or Bevan Rodd ahead of Manny Yogan. But the downside...
Rich, do you think Riches is like, yeah, there's some handy players. It's a better position than
tighter prop,
and it's a better position than other countries like Ireland, for example.
Well, it is because they've got...
I might take Andrew Porter to start, but there's not a lot backing him up.
What I mean for the Riches is you've got at least about 3 guys there in Bevan Rodd, Manny Yogan and Finn Baxter. I'm certain there's more that if we thought about it for a few seconds, but they're all under 24, 25. They're all young guys who have got very good Premiership and European rugby experience and could... If you picked one of those to start every England test for the next 4 years, they would be phenomenal. It's almost the embarrassment of riches that you can't because you've got 3 of them, or you won't because
I would just go who's the biggest, pick them, which is why I think Yogan doesn't get in, because I look around the world and you look at Tamaiti Williams, best young loosehead in the world, Ox and Che, just got to be bigger.
Yeah, I agree with that. I totally agree with that, Tim. I'm thinking, they're handy, but they're not big.
On the other side, so Asher Opoku Fajor, he's not that big.
And I don't think he'll make it, though.
Yeah, well,
Afolabi for Sogbon. No, he's got a big frame.
That's more like... Do you not think his body's a bit long? I know you can't have it all your own way.
Yeah.
There again...
Maybe Iwini Antonio's got a long body.
I was about to say that he has, yeah.
But then you look at who's the last... Well, let's name England props who are more than 140 kg. Sorry, English, not England, because I don't think England have ever had a prop more than 140 kg.
How big's Harper? Because Harper's massive.
Don't know. I don't think he's that big. The only 2 I would name would be Aaron Painter and B. Allo.
I was going to mention B. Allo.
So they're the 2 heaviest that I... But they never...
No.
They've both underperformed. James Harper, he's not that big.
He's huge. He's 6'4".
No, he's not.
But huge is still not that big.
About 130 something.
Oh, so his sail profile, this has got to be wrong. His sail profile is 116 kg.
So he's a coach.
I'm 108.
He's a coach.
You look 8 kilograms heavier than me.
He's a coach.
You're a big boy.
He's a coach at Man Met University, so I see him regularly.
Oh, okay.
Most Monday evenings.
Have you weighed him?
No.
What's wrong with you?
He's got a very, very big upper body. He's a big block
Jake
of a man.
Kubali, who lives
he's nowhere near 140 kegs. No.
Jake Kubali, who lives down the road, it must still be 120 kegs. Must at least be that.
Getting boys. So Manny Iogan is listed as 119 kg. Ellis Genge is 180.
By the way, did you see the video I sent of Ellis Genge the other day squatting 200 kilograms?
I did. Yeah.
Did you not think that was surprisingly weak?
I assumed it was, because he was in England camp, I assumed it was in between...
Maybe it was at the end of something or something.
In between test matches.
What do you reckon Beno Obano is, at 120?
He's quite short, Beno Obano. But yeah, I'd say 120, 125.
Hang on. Sorry, let's go back to squatting because that's more interesting. Not that Beno Obano's not interesting.
And the weight of props is very interesting to me.
Yes, true. So, not full depth. Not that props need to go full depth because, of course, if you're full depth, you're screwed.
It's too late. It's already too late.
At full depth, I guess I'll start pushing. Right. But 2 reps at 200, like that just is not very heavy for professional props. I was astonished, actually. Unless he's doing it at the very end of something like, I don't know, rowing or something.
No, I assumed it might be at the end of a multi-session, but I assumed it was like 2 days after scrummaging against the Springboks. Something like that.
Well, I'm pretty sure some of the props that I know will do, as in the Premiership, will do 230 plus for, say, 8 or 9 reps. Like,
I think
Porter do that, 8 reps at 230.
I was going to mention Porter then. You were going to say 2 days after a game. That's the one that I didn't bother watching the Six Nations full contact documentary, but I did watch 2 or 3 episodes, and I watched enough to see that Andrew Porter, after winning a Six Nations game, went to the gym at 6 a.m. the next morning to do squats.
Yeah, exactly right. As you should do.
One I was just thinking of that might be the biggest just frame, Will Goodrick-Clark.
Huge boy, yeah.
He's a big frame, yeah. I don't think he's that.
He's a tight head prop as well, isn't he? Or is
no, he's loose head. He is loose head.
He battered 2 of the Leicester boys. He
did quite well against the Sharks.
Yeah, he's a good scrummager.
Exeter did well in the scrum.
What's Marcus Street? Marcus Street is a tight head.
According to the internet, he's 124.
So London Irish, their profile still exists. Their page 124. Exeter have him as 127. So that's
a unit.
Yeah, for a loose head as well. That is big.
So do you remember when?
I always like Will Goodrich-Clark.
Yeah, he's a good player. Do you remember when they played?
He's 29 now.
Oh, who was it? It was Leicester Tigers in the Premiership Cup against Trailfinders.
Yes, yeah.
He played on.
Him and Roots, wasn't it? The other Root, the younger.
Yeah, it might have been actually.
Younger Roots were playing props.
But he demolished 2 young up-and-coming props. I mean, demolished them. One might have been... Joe Hayes might have come off the bench, actually, in the second half to firm things up. But one of those lads will never be seen again, as far as I'm concerned. The other one, who had a load of promise, but I don't know where he's gone, is... what's his name? Lad at Tigers. Loose head. It's escaped me now. I've not seen him play for absolutely months. I've not even heard his name, but they were very excited about him. As soon as you say his name, you'll know exactly who I mean.
I tell you, the loose head prop that had so much promise and was massive, and just it never happened. Val Rapava-Ruskin.
Yeah,
apparently strange character though.
He was just, when he was at Worcester, he was immense, and the size of that lad's legs. He must be He must be 130.
He's quite short as well, though, isn't he? He's not that tall. Let's have a look. Just googling. Maybe he's 125, maybe. He's 32 now. He's listed at 124.
Who knows when these weights would take?
I know.
These weights.
We need the scales.
It should be like mandatory that we have them. Like every single...
Well, 130. His Gloucester profile has him at 130.
Yeah. And 190 centimetres, which is what, about 6'1"?
6'3". He's not 6'3".
No way.
I'm not having that.
But 130, yeah. So, you're right, actually. When you just list off those names, even if England was stuck going, we've got no one else, Val Rapava-Ruskin, you're starting against Scotland. Okay.
Fine. Yeah. Well, it's better than Scotland... who have called up English, Quinn's 4th choice prop or Northampton's 3rd choice prop over the years. Sorry for that little rabbit hole.
No, I like it.
more prop rabbit holes. Yeah, England has been littered by front row forwards who are meant to be great. So Jack Walker never quite made it. That'd be...
Well, this is where I am on Manny Iogan. One, he can look really good in the Premiership. or against the second string cast. But he's quite small for a loose head.
Totally.
He is. You're right.
But he's young and promising.
They're all like he's not much smaller or bigger than Bevan Rodd or Finn Baxter.
No.
They're all about that size.
James Whitcomb. That's who I was thinking of.
Who's James Whitcomb?
James Whitcomb is going to be very, very good.
He was the guy that was the backup last year. And they were thinking when the player who was it left Leicester, and they were going, he's going to come.
Cronin?
No, Cronin's the one they've got
Cronin
now.
stayed. Van Dijk?
I can't remember. Anyway, Whitcomb was the guy that they were quite excited about. Yeah,
Will Hurd is the one that got absolutely leathered by the boy we just talked about.
Thomas Tutoy?
Yeah, no,
for Songbond?
No,
Thomas Tutoy. That's
no. Hurd is a tight head. You got leathered by
Ellis Genge. Oh, Goodrich
Clark. Yeah,
Goodrich
leathered.
Clark.
Thomas Tutoy is what a prop should look like.
Yes.
And when you just look at him stood next to Archie Griffin, do you not think Archie Griffin's going to be good and he's a good young player? But look at the two of them.
But one is 20 and one's 29 or 30.
Yeah.
Speaking of 29 or 30-year-old South African players,
do you think Wilco Lowe is exactly what a prop should look like?
Oh yes,
maybe.
That's exactly what a prop should look like.
So the Jacques Vermaelen. So Thomas Tutoy was in one of the South Africa under-20s team with Jacques Vermaelen that played in... Well, Jacques Vermaelen played in 2014 and 2015. And in 2014, he played with Duan van Minerva and Pierre Schoeman, both of whom who went on to play for Scotland. And Jacques Vermaelen has been told that he cannot play for England, even though he would qualify on residency ground next year, I think, because he played in... I think it's because he played in 2015.
I think he qualified about now.
Yeah. About this time,
he just qualified.
So he could play in the Six Nations, where he selected. But because he played in 2015... My read on this is in 20... Because you have to nominate your capture team.
That's right.
Sometimes it's under-20s. Sometimes it's your A team, like the emerging
Now, I know this.
Springboks.
In 2014, it was not the capture team. And it might even have been at the back end of 2015, or if not 2016, it was not the capture team, but he happened to play in the one window of time where it was a capture team. The one reason I feel very sorry for Jacques Vermeulen is were the players told that was the case at the time?
Yeah,
you can quite imagine. Yeah. You can quite imagine they might not.
This is capture team. I'm out. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he would ever do that, but
no, he probably
you need to be told.
He probably wouldn't have done, but he needs to be told.
Just on that, I think capture teams are evil. Like, they just shouldn't exist. They shouldn't exist. Like, you either play for the national team or you don't. So I hate this idea, like, of just hoovering up talent, giving them under 20s or 18 caps just so you can't play elsewhere. Why do you need a capture team? You either play them in the main team or you don't.
Personally, I wouldn't have players that qualify on anything other than grandparents.
You'd have blood tests, wouldn't you? You'd have 23andMe DNA tests.
Too right.
Yeah.
No. So I don't think Duan van der Merwe should be playing for Scotland or Pierre Schoeman. But if I were those players or anyone else, I would 100% do what they did. But I don't think they should.
And if you were Scottish, you would, every time that Duan scored a try, you would be cheering your...
And with England's centre options, when Bernard Janzi van Rensburg becomes English, I think he should as a business choice. And if those are the rules, then I think England should pick him as well.
Play the rules.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I have to like it.
Yes. I would. I'm actually okay with where the rules are now.
I am. Yeah,
they're much better than they were.
Yeah,
because where they were meant that Japan could just pay people for 3 years, and
which was kind of working nicely.
It was working.
Working very nicely, and they just have to pay them for a bit longer now. Just a slightly longer project.
Yeah, because we all want Japan to be better, so I'm kind of down with that. It's great.
Yeah, better than they are at the moment. Yeah, they're 2015 and 2019 they were excellent.
And France were ahead of the game on the 5-year residency thing.
Got schools in Bloemfontein and Fiji.
Fijians, and we're seeing now we've got Emmanuel Mayafu, Tavita Tatafu has had a 5-year qualifying period. And there's others coming soon as well. There's
is that the new prop? What's his name?
Joel Merkler. There's
Joel Merkler, yeah.
Vander the Stade Francais, like 150 kilo.
I know that colonisation is no longer trendy. It's frowned upon now. But
I do think England could do with their like a New Caledonia type situation somewhere.
Yeah, because France, they've still got. It's not. They're not colonies. They are France proper. Like if you're in New Caledonia or French Polynesia or French Guiana, you are French. You are like the geography question is, which country does France share its longest land border with?
Oh, is this somewhere in South America?
Because everyone would say Germany.
Everyone would say Germany or possibly Spain. No, it's Brazil because of French Guiana. Yeah. French Guiana is next to Brazil.
That's what is it? Have I made this up? Is the capital KN as in KN Pepper?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay,
that's why KN Pepper.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Diego Garcia and Falklands just are not churning them out like they used to.
Well, certainly not anymore on Diego Garcia.
Yeah, I mean, we've really got a few more years of Diego Garcia to get that talent out.
Not quite.
Is Diego Garcia in the Falklands?
No. That's the one.
Say Diego Garcia is the American base.
Yeah, no. It's a British base. No, it's an American base on British land.
Yes,
it's an
where there's lots
in
of
the Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
Lots of
lots
of stuff we'll never ever know about goes on in Diego Garcia.
Yeah, so
it's like the Antarctic.
Diego Garcia is an effort for the British to try and be useful to the Americans.
Yes,
right, and in doing so, we've given it back to Mauritius, and we'll pay them a rent for it. Thanks, lads.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody involved. But anyway, we've got a couple more years of that, so we need to milk it of all the talent that it possibly has.
Do you reckon if we had 1 million years of professional rugby, England would ever get an international born and Diego Garcia?
I don't know.
Maybe from an American serviceman.
I wonder if there's any. I know this is like one of those cliche things. It never really happens. So do you know when they always say, who was the last Welsh speaker to score in Wembley? It's always
Gabriel Batistuta.
I'm not sure if it's true.
I think it is because
I think that's a myth.
Patagonia, like there are like genuinely still villages that speak Welsh in Patagonia.
But I think there's a myth that Gabriel Batistuta spoke Welsh.
He might, yeah.
I'm sure
might be true.
I wonder if there's more chances in there, surely, of a Welsh international from Argentina than anything else.
The one question I remember, and it was a more fun game years ago when this particular question was relevant, but who is the only person to play in goal for... I can't remember which way around it was, but I think it was in goal for Newcastle United and striker for Manchester United.
I don't know.
It wasn't Andy Cole, was it?
No.
Did he go in?
No.
Nicky Butt? No.
It wasn't Keith Gillespie, who played for both clubs. So people go through those, and the answer is the Honey Monster. From the Sugar Puffs advert.
That told me some... Okay, yeah, fine. What do you think about the pattern of migrations and like economies and whatnot? Which is why we end up with like South Africans playing in the UK and Fijians and whatnot, and of course in France because the strongest economies are like gravity.
Yeah.
Well, if Mele stays in Argentina, I can imagine getting a small boat from the Falklands to go and play for Argentina somewhere. Surely, I mean it's not long before Not that the Argentine players are coming to Wales, but the Welsh players are going to go into Argentina. It makes an awful lot of sense to me.
Just typed into Google, did Gabriel Batistuta speak Welsh? And the AI overview they've given me is no.
I knew it.
He's not known to have spoken Welsh, but he is a former professional footballer from Argentina. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I know that second part.
Thank you.
Very good. Should we end there?
Yeah. Just on that AI thing, I heard someone doing quite a funny conversation with AI because it will just talk back to you.
Yeah,
like you're having a regular conversation.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, actually. And we're only in the early days, so imagine where it's going to be.
I've noticed it being very deceptive towards me, I've got to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so my new favourite game at the moment is every time I see a news story on the BBC, I look up who the spokesman is for the news story. So, like, say if it's like... mystery rainforest vandalised in somewhere. Someone from the Rainforest Alliance says such and such, and I always Google who the spokesperson is. Not Google, just ChatGPT, and then who the alliance is, because I like to see which NGOs that they're linked to, and they're all linked to the same NGOs. But recently, it stopped telling me who the NGOs are. It just says other government links and non-governmental links. Who are the non-governmental links? And it just will not tell you. And you've got to go round the houses over and over again.
Really?
Yeah, it's and that's a recent thing. Like, and all of them is basically stopped, because it used to be able to, say if the BBC run a story about knife crime, they will then get some advocate on who's like a youth worker, and you look him up, and he works for someone, it's funded by someone else, so on and so forth. So I like to go through who these spokesmen are. Do you know when they say community leader? Like, who are you? Where have you come from? And then it's the same funders over and over again. But recently, it's just stopped telling me where these people come from.
So I'm going to blame AI for something as well. So I said recently that Six Nations kicks off in January. First Six Nations. I said it's the first Six Nations that kicks off in January.
It's the Friday night. It's on the 31st.
It's on the 31st of January. And it definitely is the first Six Nations to have kicked off in January. I also said I think it's the first first Five Nations. Now that is because I typed into Google and the AI said, well, the first thing I typed in was, has the Six Nations ever been in January? And it said, in 2025, the Six Nations will kick off on the 31st of January. So I said, no, backwards. Previously, has it ever? And it said, the Six Nations has never played in January. And I went back and checked the start date of every Six Nations. It's only 23. And none of them were ever in January. And then I asked, has the Five Nations ever played in January? It said, no, the Five Nations was never played in January. I checked the first couple. I was like, I'm not checking 100 years of history. I believe you, Mr. AI. And it wasn't. It's been played dozens of times in January. So AI will let you down. Never trust AI. Always
I
double
heard someone
check.
having a conversation with one of them, and it was throwing it moral quandaries, like
the trolley problem.
it was like, oh, sorry to interrupt you, ChatGTP or whatever it is. There's a child in a lake struggling to swim. What should I do? Well, you should go and save it. But I've got these new, very expensive shoes that I've just purchased. What's the right thing to? And anyway, you just tied the ChatGTP in sort of moral quandary knots.
Yeah,
it's quite funny.
I quite like that.
It'll never replace humans. But mind you, we're early days, aren't we? We're very, very early days.
Very early days, and I think I don't know much about this, but I think the key will be the interwoven position where it's human plus, like, I don't know, machinery in its own can only do very linear things, but human plus machineries can, like, human plus a drill, human plus whatever it is.
I agree. It's going to make lots more jobs.
Still saw that kind of thing.
Can I just give a quick shout out to an Instagram account called Sicker Strength? If you love strength training, right, this is why I like this account. It's got loads. It's got quite a lot of rugby content on there. So I think I was watching Whitelock do some cleans on there. So if you like strong men,
is his technique good?
Yeah, decent. I mean, all the All Blacks are pretty good at this, actually. I think they all do quite a lot of like Olympic lifting.
NFL, that's one thing they do. They rep that technique.
They do on the cleans, don't they?
Yeah.
In college, I've never seen that before, but they all do it in time as well with some heavy weights. Some of the Olympic lifts in US colleges are unbelievable. So, and that on that account as well, it had a 230 kilogram front squat from a college player. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Without lifting shoes. Stupid.
So what's that account?
Sicker Strength.
Spelled
Strength.
SIKA. Seeker, I think.
Yeah.
Strength. And actually, they're both Irish lads, and I think they've done work. Well, they've definitely done work with international rugby players. I think they're linked to Leinster in some way.
Is this like that? Who was the woman that used to do all the sprint training you talked about a couple of months back? Tom Varndell.
Who was she? Dan Luger's coach. Everyone had a sprint coach at one point, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to bug me. Danny Cipriani used her.
Well, you could be talking about anything with that statement.
Yes, that's a good point. What was her name?
I wonder what Sipper's up to now.
I don't know, but I still follow his ex-girlfriend wife on Instagram, and she's doing great. What on earth is her name?
Can't remember. I feel like it's got an old traditional name like Marion or something like that. Anyway, it doesn't
Margot
matter.
Wells.
Margot Wells.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wasn't a mile off.
Well done. And they had. Do you remember when eye training was a thing?
Yeah.
Well, they did it for 2003, didn't they?
Jokes. All jokes. All jokes.
Right. What are we doing now? Other than finishing.
Finishing?
Well, we'll get a Patreon podcast in next week.
Next week, yes. That sounds good to me.
But there's loads of good stuff there already.
We'll definitely do a Christmas beers Patreon pod.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be a good idea. Christmas beers.
Get some wonderful Stollen in.
Oh, yes. Not made that for a few years. Need to make some.
Excellent. Right, okay, let's leave it there.
All right, fine. Let the boys play and let the boys end.
Even the busiest of holiday schedules is no match for Alo Moves, the streaming wellness platform where you can sculpt your muscles, unwind with a yoga class, or even learn the art of awareness with their latest meditation offerings. On demand, whenever works for you. And right now, for Cyber Week, you can get almost 40% off your 1-year membership with great deals on 6-month and monthly memberships too. Start saving today at alomoves.com. alomoves.com.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.